And we're starting. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. This is August 16th, top of the hour, 9 o'clock Mountain Time in U.S. Appreciate everybody being here. This is Paul Pedron. We have ZENcast live today, and we appreciate you joining us for this conversation in and around Zocker. We will have a few guests on today and be able to, who are joining us for this particular ZENcast, and we'll introduce those gentlemen in just a few minutes. We appreciate everybody's here. We will go ahead and start in. You may be asking, so what is ZENcast Live? Well, it's for ZENworks admins, it's for the ZENworks community, and anybody that's remotely wondering about ZENworks. Because what we do is this is your forum, we try to give you answers to your questions on your ZENworks products. And we meet the first and third Tuesday at 9 o'clock Mountain Time, North America, every Tuesday, first and third Tuesday. So you'll see that there's a schedule here. And let me make sure. So if you go to the YouTube channel, Microfocus Support and Training, you'll be able to see under Endpoint IM&G, Endpoint Unified Endpoint Management, you'll see the different channels there that you could go to. So you can see past recordings and details about those recordings, as well as downloading these particular presentations that we have. Okay. A little bit of house cleaning. Do subscribe and you'll get notifications. You can log into YouTube chat so you can participate in the conversation. And do comments and likes if you're watching the recording so we know that this content is on task for you, that we know what to bring you. Also, the best viewing is Auto 720p 60, just so you know. You can get that through your gear on the YouTube channel. And you'll see the posted video description, both links to downloads and links to references. It's posted almost immediately after we finish our presentation up here, so you'll be able to get to that. I have posted a couple in chat already as far as the presentations, and I can do so again, so those just joining us can see those, and we'll put those in the chat presentation so you can download them as we're going through this presentation. You can follow along or download them later. We do have a second presentation about Zocker itself, so I'll put that in the chat as well so that you're able to get that. Now the schedule in August again is today is ZCM Zocker. What is it? September I will be on holiday on the 6th, but we'll be coming back on the 20th doing ZSD 831, and we have some future customer requests as well there. If you have any requests on what you'd like to dive into, whether it's bundles, policies, antivirus, service desk, quick calls, desktop container studio, those types of things, feel free to send an email to zen@microfocus.com. And again, you could see the upcoming schedule out on YouTube. On our community site, which has our current schedule and upcoming schedule, as well as a link to every one of the past presentations so that you can get those details. All right, and one thing I started was Community Cool Solutions and Videos info. There's some new things out there that are really exciting. One is the lookbook for ZSD. If you're looking at upgrading, it has details, videos, overviews, tutorials, articles, and stuff about upgrading ZSD. And at the same time, completed, I think last week, was being able to stay supported in 2020 Update 2, how to upgrade, what is the comparison chart for the different versions, what are the instructions for upgrading from 2017 to 2020 Update 2 or 2020 to 2020 Update 2. There's tutorials and so forth out there. So this is brand new released. The links are in this presentation, so feel free to download the presentation to get to those links. That'll be great. There's other things about the team collaboration and UEM community. You could see the different blogs here where you could see things that are announced. Okay, so there's a few links in here. We won't go through them all, but That's the community cool solutions and videos info. There's also the latest TIDs that's been written out there for the forums for you guys, technical information documents. The most recent ones is ZCM Catalina out. It's large, not rolling over, those types of things. We have a KM article there. ZSD assigned to trying to assign to another tech, but it takes us basically out to our knowledge base portal and presents that to you. So I put those in there because the latest ones may be what you're encountering on your current setup, and we'd like to make sure you're aware of those technical documents. And as far as the community goes, the ZENworks community ideas, exchange, and blogs, be sure to visit this occasionally. There's discussions out here that will help you understand more about how other administrators are doing it, questions that you may have, answers to some of these questions or discussions. The ideas exchange helps us understand how you're using the product and what you want as future enhancements for the product. So you can post things there. You can get some votes, and we're able to better judge on the direction we go for the different products. And there's different ones in here. You can go to any one of these products on the community page to be able to do those suggestions or discussions or ideas. Okay. Other live casts, just so you know, Filer has one the first Thursday of every month. Groupwise Enterprise Messaging, second Thursday of every month. And oh yes, I print the last Thursday of every month. Robin Redgrave out there does that. Those particular casts, and you're able to ask questions about those products as well. So we appreciate him for doing that. We also have a Keppinger Cole analyst report out there that about UEM endpoint management. Okay, so you can see how we sit amongst the UEM endpoint management portfolios out there. Micro Focus Technical Insights series. We have TTP does collaboration, community, and events, and their most recent event was with Technical Insights Conference, June and July. You can go back to those particular presentations if you wish to see what was talked about, so that you can glean more information about the products you're using. Let's talk a little bit about UEM versions. Currently, we're on ZCM version 2020 update 2. We have the FTF 1006 out there. I'm not certain if 1007 is released yet, but I know 1006 is out there, and that's a cumulative update that you can apply after applying FTF 998. So you can keep your systems up and running with the current code. Imaging update July 2022 was released. There's a what's new document out there. There's an upgrade cookbook for 2020 update 2, and it covers many of these components listed here. ZRS 7.8 was released with update 2, and you can see the what's new and readme there. ZSD version 8.3, 8.3.1 will be released. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. 8.3 is out there, the what's new readme cookbook, an upgrade cookbook, and MFDC 22.4. Upcoming, which is real close, ZSD 8.3.1 September 6th has a few of has those features and more. ZCM 2020 update 3 is released coming up in the future here real soon, and then MFDC 22.6 is released August 31st with those features and more. Okay, just so you're aware. Now, recap. We talked a little bit about the appliance navigation last week. The appliance navigation means that it's an appliance is a Linux kernel-based system for that particular product, streamlined for those particular products. We talked a little bit about the appliances, what the console is, port 9443. We looked at ZCM, ZSD, ZRS, and Filer. There's also other appliances out there like iPrint and others. So we covered that last week. If you're interested in that and understanding a little bit more about the appliance, and you want to know, should I be moving, how do I move, and so forth, check out that last week's or last ZENcast presentation. For today's presentation. I'm proud to announce that we have some guests on today's ZENcast. These developers are experts in the ZCM architecture and who I've worked with many times in support. They are a great asset to this product. And we have Chandra, Mani, and Guru on with us. Is that correct? Are you there?
Right,
Yes, yeah,
Paul.
Paul.
Very good.
Yes.
Glad to have you. I'm going to move you over to my main screen so we can see a little bit more about you and when you bring up your presentation. So we're going to be talking a little bit about Zocker today. And we had some customers wondering what Zocker is, what's its use in ZCM, and I'm sure your presentation will give us that feedback. So I'm just going to turn it over to you. Thank you for joining us. I got you unmuted.
So,
There you go. Thank you, Chandra.
yes, Paul. So I'll just share my slide deck and I can
Please,
start.
yes, thank you.
Sure.
It is visible. Thank you very much.
Sure, yeah.
And if I might say, anybody that has questions in the audience, please put them in chat, and I'll be happy to relay them over so that we can um, get that information for you. Um, Go ahead. Thank you, CK.
Sure, Paul. So, yeah, hi everyone. So, as part of this ZENcast live session, we will be covering through this topic Zocker, which Paul had mentioned. So, yeah, before I go ahead, yeah, as Paul told, if anybody has questions, please feel free to put them in the chat so that we can address them along when we were giving out the session. So, yeah, let me go ahead and start the session. So, before going ahead with Zocker, I will just give you some hints about FTFs, just a brief introduction about FTF, basically, which is like field test file, right? So what are FTFs? These FTFs are basically the patch files that will have the fixes to the defects that are being requested by the customers, right? So as part of defect one, we will be having one or two binaries which will be shipped out, and that will be fixing the specific defect which a customer had asked, and so that is basically what is an FTF, field test file, that will be applied in the customer zone. So if we see what are all the contents of the FTF, we will be having those binaries with the defect fixes. Basically, it will be either in the form of jars or in the form of DLLs or property files or etc. Something like that, right? So that is one. And the next is README. So basically, this README is the one which will have the step-by-step procedure to apply the FTF and also the details about the defects fixed as part of that. So that is one thing. And the third thing is a change log. So from update 2 onwards, we are introducing this change log that will have the complete set of issues which are fixed so far, since the release of update 2. There will be one FTF which will be having 2 or 3 defect fixes. Then the next FTF will be having another 3 defect fixes something. So this change log will be having the history basically, what are all the defects that have been fixed as part of this FTF, second FTF, third FTF, and all the like. So basically, these are the contents of the FTFs. So yeah, going ahead. Yeah, traditional approach. So pre-update 2, before update 2, we were following the traditional approach of delivering and patching FTFs, right? So where these FTFs were being delivered as individual binaries. As I told earlier, right? So suppose there is one defect for which a customer has requested an FTF, and this defect has 2 jars, example. These will be delivered individually, and the customers have to follow the README and patch those 2 jars into their system, into their server, basically. So, so that is a way which we were delivering the FTFs and asking the customers to patch. For that, we have some few drawbacks, which I will explain one by one, and why we are going ahead with the new approach. So basically, the first drawback is that the FTFs were not being versioned. So we don't have any mechanism that we'll be using to version those FTFs. So there is no specific organization of this FTF will have these fixes, nothing like that. Customer will be requesting an FTF, right, for this defect or set of defects, something like that, and we will be shipping those specific individual binaries to them. So that is what we had till now. So that is where one drawback. We didn't have any mechanism to version those FTFs. And also, we can say there is like a limited or like restricted cumulativeness in this traditional approach. Maybe as an example, say we have one jar called as a framework.jar and another one called as add-ons.jar. And let us say that this second jar, add-ons.jar, depends on the first one, framework.jar. So in the case like, let us say one defect has add-ons.jar and framework.jar, two jars, right? And the second one, let's say that has only add-ons.jar, that defect has only that fix. So when we release the fix for defect 2, which is having that add-ons.jar, that will be cumulative because as part of defect 1, it has add-ons.jar, and as part of defect 2 also, we are releasing the same jar means. So that cumulativeness will be restricted only to the specific binaries, specific files, and not as FTF as a whole. So in this case, if there are any dependency issue, or if we, in case if we miss anything like the first framework.jar or something while shipping, that may cause issues. So that is one drawback, right? Maybe like another example, if we say like, say a developer has worked on a dev FTF and they built a jar and they sent it to you, but they don't know that there is a dependency added in the previous FTF. Let us say that case. In that case, if they don't know and if they directly ship the FTF, there might be dependency issues, and that also might cause fixes to break. Previous fixes might break as part of this dev FTF, right? So that is one another drawback. So we have like restricted cumulativeness. So this is one drawback. And the second thing is manual backup and restore of files. So here, as part of the README steps also, we will be either using like asking the customers to like take all those binaries which were shipped as part of that, have the binaries which were already present in place to be like moved across like a backup, and then replace those new fixes, new binaries which were shipped as part of this FTF. So a lot of manual activities involved, like they customers need to like manually back up those files, and they need to like apply these files as part of that. And if they need to restore those files, they again need to like go back to the location where they had backed up, and they need to like restore those files back to the original location. So a lot of manual activities involved, right? So that is one another drawback. The next one is like, yeah, suppose we have like a fix FTF which has like multiple files that needs to be copied to multiple locations. Since as per the previous drawback itself, I told manual activities involved, right? So multiple files needs to be copied across multiple locations. So that is one another drawback. The customers has to like do all this backup and restore everything manually. So like some jar files like which we are giving as part of the FTF, like if there are like two jar files which needs to be replaced on one folder, and another 2 3 jar files which needs to be like copied to another folder. So all these things they need to like carefully follow and do all the steps manually, so that everything will be like consistent, the fix will work properly. And also like let us say if the customer is taking backup in the same folder itself, for example data model framework.jar, right? Suppose if they are renaming it to backup hyphen framework.jar or something like that, and suppose if they're keeping the same folder itself as a backup, that also may have issues since both older and newer jar are present in the same folder. So all these issues we are trying to like address it, because these are like a drawback. So that is one other drawback thing. And yeah, as I told, since all these things are being done manually, there are like potential errors which might happen. Human errors which will happen, right? Like we may miss copying one or two files, or like we may like copy one file to some other location instead of the actual location. So all these human errors also might occur potentially because when we follow the traditional approach. And also the last one is, now with update 2, we are bringing in that microservices architecture, right? So like the containers, Dockers, all those concepts came into place. So basically with this containerization, if we need to like patch manually inside all those containers or images, that will be a cumbersome task, because like we need to have like Docker commands in place, which we need to like follow step by step, do all those things individually, and also manually we need to do a lot of things, which will be a cumbersome task. And also like we may miss out also like because like there will be like different images which we have as Zen core, Zen server, like lot of anti-malware, lot of images, right? And when we copy manually, patch manually inside this image using Docker commands, there will be like one or two potential errors which might happen. So that and all is a problem when we use traditional approach. So for that only, we are now following a newer approach which we like started after update 2. So here, these FTFs will be delivered in a cumulative format, basically. So, so one FTF is delivered which will have like 2 or 3 fixes, and the second FTF that will be cumulative. It will be having those older fixes, and on top of that, we will be having 1 or 2 other new fixes. So if we go in a like cumulative manner, like 1, 2, 3, if we go, the third one will be having all the fixes in a cumulative manner. So that is a newer approach which we are having. So let me tell, yeah, before I go ahead, this FTS which I told that will be delivered in cumulative format, right? That will be applicable only to server side FTS. So that is what I had marked it here. So let me go ahead with the advantages which we are seeing with this newer approach, right? So if I say in the older approach, traditional approach, where I told, right, there will be like a lot of manual activity which will be done. So that one we will be like mitigating it here. So automated backup and restore of files. All this backup and restore mechanism, everything will be like automated. So we don't need to manually do everything. Everything will be done by the tool itself. So that is one. And yeah, another thing is provision to track all the FTFs applied. So we have all these tracking mechanisms which we can use to track like which FTF has which fixes and across which containers we have like those FTF fixes, all those things we can able to track it. So that provision we are having now. And agnostic to multiple files at different locations. Since as per the first point itself, I told everything is like automated, right? So we don't need to basically worry that there are like multiple files which needs to be copied to different locations, nothing like that, because the tool itself will take care of doing everything automated. So we don't need to like worry about these copying different files at different locations. And also, yeah, this is also an obvious thing. Since everything is being done in an automated way, we can avoid entirely, we can avoid the manual errors, whatever is being happen while patching. So all these things we can avoid. So that is one advantage. And yeah, patching is oblivious to multiple images. Like as I told, right, with update 2, we have like microservice architecture that has been introduced. So like Dockers, containers, images, all those things are coming to picture, right? Now with this new approach, we don't need to worry about like manually copying or like patching files inside individual image, nothing like that, because all the things are automated. Even across multiple images, if we have multiple files, everything will be like done in an automated fashion. So that is what we are following the newer approach. So all these are the advantages basically. And yeah, one thing to note is all these advantages and FTS which I told are applicable only to server side FTS, and currently agent side FTS needs to be still followed using the traditional approach. So if we give any FTS from agent side, that needs to be following a traditional approach, and we need to apply FTS in that fashion itself. So yeah, if we have any questions or something, please post it in the chat so that we can address.
Nothing yet. Thank you.
Sure. Yes. So I will go ahead for now. So yeah, now we are coming to the utility Zocker. Which, so this Zocker, this is basically the tool which we are like have like, basically a tool or utility we use to manage all the FTFs in an automated fashion. So with ease, with convenience, basically, right? And we do have like some features inside Zocker, which I will be covering one by one. So basically, first is applying or reverting patches on individual images. So this tool, if like we deliver any FTFs, official FTFs or dev FTFs or anything, we can use this Zocker utility or the Zocker tool to apply or revert patches across individual images. So that is basically the one feature. And the next is, yeah, not even as an individual image, we can still apply or revert any FTF as a whole instead of like directly going across individual images. So that command also we had introduced. So that is one. And listing FTF versions. So when we apply an FTF, we like consider that we have applied 3 to 4 FTFs. And if we need to like see what are all the FTFs that have been applied, we do have a feature to list all those FTF versions that have been applied, and also the current applied FTFs also we have a mechanism to track that specifically also. We will be marking that with the star. That I'll be like covering in the later slides. So that is one feature of listing FTF versions. And yeah, this is one basic good feature is same commands across platforms. So this one main thing which we like Zocker has been developed is same commands across platforms. So we do have Linux and Windows, right? So both platforms we are having the same set of commands which we can use across the platforms to basically patch like FTFs, like apply or revert FTFs or list FTFs, all those things. Also, like I will tell, like we do have like the separate sub commands and sub commands for each and every feature, right? There we can use that help command, basically hyphen help. If we use across each and every command, we can have see more details about that. So we do have help usage commands also across each command. So yeah, I don't see any questions now on the chat. So I will go ahead with each and every commands now. So yeah, the first one which you'll be seeing is a Zocker patch. So yeah, Zocker patch command which we can use to apply or revert individual image patches. So I told right that we have list of images like ZenCore, ZenServer, ZenLoader, all those images we are having, right? So basically Zocker patch command to apply FTF on that ZenServer patch, ZenServer image basically. So that is what apply does. Revert, it is used to revert back to an older patch. So I will go ahead and detail in the upcoming slides. So these are all the usage statements. And one thing to note here is like till 998 FTF which we have shipped, only this Zocker patch was supported. Then only we started like develop the Zocker FTF command, which will be like going ahead in the next upcoming slides. So this is one thing to be noted. So yeah. And in this Zocker patch command, which we had already introduced, we do have some drawbacks, which I'll be explaining one by one. So yeah, the first drawback is the difficulty in tracking dependencies across images while doing like apply or revert basically. So if we see in update 2, I told her we have a number of images like ZenCore, ZenServer, ZenLoader, etc. Right? And also from update 3 onwards, this numbers will increase further. And like tracking FTFs on these many images and along with these dependencies will be like a difficult process. It will be cumbersome. Basically, example like if we apply an FTF using Zocker patch, we do need to manually track the images that got modified. For example, as part of defect 1, ZenCore and ZenServer might be modified, like it will have the fixes. And as part of defect 2, ZenLoader and ZenServer, like some other images might have been like modified as part of it. So basically, we do need to track all those things, like if there are any dependencies across images and what are all the images that got modified as part of this fix. All those things we need to like manually keep track. And also, if we are like reverting, we need to follow the same order to avoid any kind of errors, inconsistency, or all those things. So basically, we need to find out the images or containers that were associated with the particular version which we are reverting. So this is one major drawback which we had when we use Zocker patch. So that is one thing. And the second thing is, yeah, we don't have any mechanism to differentiate between the dev and official FTFs that were given. So basically, dev FTF or debug FTF, we know, right? It's like a temporary defect fix that has been given by the Microfocus developers for testing on a non-production environment. So if we use Zocker patch to build those dev FTFs or official FTFs, we don't have any mechanism to differentiate what is what. So that is one major drawback. Because of this, like we need to like manually keep track of, okay, dev FTF has been applied, we need to revert so that we can apply the next official FTF. All those things we need to like keep track separately, keep note of it or something like that. So all these drawbacks were there in Zocker patch, which we are trying to avoid. So yeah, if you have any questions or something, we can address it. Just I didn't see anything in the chat for now.
None yet so far. Thank you.
Thanks. So yeah. So yeah, now we are done with the Zocker patch command, right? Next, let us go with the Zocker FTF command. Yeah, Zocker FTF. So basically, Zocker FTF command, I told that in Zocker patch, we will be like doing that apply or revert across individual images, right? Contradictory to that, this Zocker FTF, it will be used to apply or revert FTF as a whole instead of individual containers. So that is the basic difference between Zocker patch and Zocker FTF. So if we see a usage command for Zocker FTF, we can see like it has apply, list, and revert. That I'll be like covering in the upcoming slides. So yeah, basically this is a usage statement. And yeah, going ahead, Zocker FTF apply. So let us go through one by one. So if we see about Zocker FTF apply, this command is basically used to apply across like images and also on host basically. Either host or image, or we can apply both host and images, right? So that is a thing for Zocker FTF apply. So yeah, let me go ahead. So backup, basically, if we see like on containers, the Docker itself takes care of backing up all the modified files. We can say like when we do patching, this Docker will create a new layer where it keeps all the modified files, and hence older files will be retained in the previous layer itself. So layer by layer mechanism will be like followed when using Docker. So Docker itself will have that mechanism to take care of backing up all the modified files. If it is host, we don't have like any inbuilt mechanism to do all the backing up, right? So we introduced that backing up mechanism using Zocker. So Zocker will take care of doing all the backup mechanism, backing up all the modified files and all those things. So if we see the paths across Linux and Windows, under ZENworks Home, Zocker, FTF, we do have like a backup directory, which we will be using to back up all the host files. And this path, it is not like a mandatory thing to like by heart or remember or something like that. This is just for information we are like displaying. So this location is the one folder where the backups will be taken. So this is the one. And yeah, when we see about Zocker FTF reply, there are some things to be noted which I will cover one by one. So before applying any FTF, we need to take care that ZENworks services need to be stopped before that FTF is applied, right? So that is one thing which needs to be taken care of. This we will be mentioning it in the README also as part of the appendix section. So we need to stop before the apply process is done, basically before applying an FTF. And then once the apply process is completed successfully, we can go ahead and start the FTF again, start the services again. Sorry. Yeah. So the next thing is like older FTF cannot be applied on top of a newer FTF. So this we can take an example like we do have an example like 1005 FTF that has been there recently. And if the customer has already applied like 1002, they can apply a newer FTF on top of older FTF, but the reverse can't be done. So if already 1005 FTF has been like applied in the server, they can't again apply 1002 on top of that, because the fixes might be lost, right? So we do have the mechanism to validate all this mechanism. So this can't be done. If still we need to like apply all those things, what we can do is we can revert back across FTF. Still we need to like suppose 1005 is already applied. We need to apply 1003 or something like that. Let us revert back like from 1005 to 1004 or 1002 or 1001 and then apply the later FTF. 1003 we can apply if we are in 1001. So that is the basic thing. We can revert back across and then apply the later FTF. So yeah, these are the things. Next is
so on
yeah.
One question on the Zocker FTF stopping services. Do we stop all the services or only the service that it's applying to?
Basically, yeah, we don't need to like stop all the services mandatorily. We will be having those specific list of services like Zen server, Zen loader, or something that needs to be stopped,
Okay.
so that the patches can be applied on the specific images.
Very good.
So
Thank
only
you.
to only to those images which yes, man.
Yeah, just to add, Paul, in the README we have mentioned saying that these are the services that needs to be stopped. So for now, it's a manual activity, and so customer has to follow the README where we have said that these are the services that needs to be stopped, and yeah, customer can go with only those steps, those services, and that should be good enough.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, moving ahead. Dev FTF and debug FTF, which microfocus ships, right? That also needs to use Zocker FTF apply, unless otherwise specified by microfocus. So whatever is the case, even if it is like a dev FTF, debug FTF, or official FTF, let us follow, like you need to basically follow the Zocker FTF apply commands. So to apply the FTF basically that has been provided. So that is to be noted. And yeah, this one I will explain. There will be like some features. For example, let us take this Windows 11 support itself. For that support, there will be a need to apply both server and related agent FTF. This related agent FTF, which will be like dependencies, we will be mentioning that specifically in the README as a separate section, right? So we need to apply both the server FTF using Zocker FTF apply and the related agent FTF using the traditional approach. That both needs to be done simultaneously, so that consistency will be there and the complete fix will be like present. So at times this might be a case which needs to be like noted, and as per the README we need to follow all the steps so that the complete fix might be there. There will be like some defects basically, which there will be both server and agent side fixes. For that, this needs to be noted. So this is basically on Zocker FTF apply. So if you have any questions, you can address. I didn't see anything in the chat.
Nothing in chat. One question that I have is, will the ZCC show the FTF applied to the primary server object? Can you see that in ZCC?
As of now, no, Paul. Maybe in the future we may add that information.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, for listing what are the FTF supply, we have separate commands, but yeah, in GCC currently we don't have that mechanism to show that.
You just do a command. Sure.
Correct. Yeah, we have a command for that. Yeah, that I'll be explaining.
Thank
we have
you.
a list command. So yeah. So yeah, that is the one which I'm explaining now. So
There it is.
next command which I explain is a Zocker FTF list. Yeah. So basically Zocker FTF list, this will display what are all the list of FTFs that have been applied. So that is obvious as it, right? So we have Zocker FTF list along with the -l parameter. This we can use that we can to display more details basically on the list of FTFs that have been applied. So if we see an example screenshot here. So yeah, this is one other point to note. That whatever is the current active FTF like that has been like applied at present, that will be marked with a star mark. So if you see that example here, we have 1005 FTF applied in this server, and it will show the applied time, which date and time that has been applied, and whether this is a dev FTF or an official FTF. Yeah, this is an official FTF, and what are all the containers that got impacted as part of this FTF. So that is the one that will be like listing as part of Zocker FTF list command. So its containers itself, you see like ZenCore, ZenHost Linux, and ZenServer has been like modified as part of it, right? Here, if you see ZenCore and ZenServer as 1005, which means on 1005 FTF, there are some changes that went into ZenCore and ZenServer. And if you see ZenHost Linux container, it is listed as 1004, which means that since all the FTFs are like cumulative, this ZenHost Linux container changes are carry forward from 1004 to 1005. It basically didn't have any new fixes as part of this container basically. So so the older fixes have been like carry forward since FTF is cumulative. So that is what this container section is listing basically. And yeah, one thing to note is for dev FTF, if we give the version is basically start. We do have a naming convention for this dev FTF. It will start with dev FTF hyphen that FTF version. For example, dev FTF hyphen 20.2.0.1005. So that naming convention is the thing which we are following that we need to be taking note of. And yeah, if we apply a dev FTF and then we do list that list of FTFs that have been FTF, this is dev FTF will be like listing to yes, showing as yes for that specific dev FTF that has been applied. So that is basically about Zocker FTF list. If you have any questions on this one, we can address.
None at this time.
Just one more point to add.
Yes.
Dev FTF hyphen version, meaning this dev FTF was built on top of this version, right? So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Correct. Yes. So whenever we build dev FTF, we will like ask, like we'll be checking like which is the current active FTF that has been like applied on the server, and on top of that we will be giving up the dev FTF. So we'll having this naming convention. So it is like dev FTF on top of that version. So basically that is the case. And yeah, moving on.
So
yes.
Sometimes when the Micro Focus support people ask, they may ask this information, asking for what is the current FTF version so that we can build the dev FTF on top of it. So that is the reason we just wanted to explain this one.
Good point. So if they're being investigated and they need to know the version, the Zocker FTF list is very valuable.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, ideally we're done with the Zocker FTF list. So let us move on. So the next command is Zocker FTF revert. So basically, as per the command is obvious, right? So basically to revert across FTFs, like to revert to the previous applied FTF version, we will basically use that Zocker FTF revert command. So if we, yeah, one thing to notice here also, as like how we apply FTF, for revert also, we need to stop all the ZENworks services before the FTF is reverted. All in the sense, not all the services, basically the services that we need to mandatorily like stop, like ZenServer, ZenLoader. But the safer side is like we can stop all the services before doing that revert, and then after the revert is done successfully, we can start back all the services, so that yeah, it will be like consistent and we don't face any kind of errors. And yeah, if we see the help command, we do have like these things, and here the particular thing to notice that -2, right? So basically to revert the FTF to a specific version, we use this 2 parameter, and the value which needs to be given for this 2 is previous. So it will be like Zocker FTF revert -2 previous. If we give like that, it will basically revert to the previous FTF that have been applied. Consider we have applied 1002 and then directly to 1005 or something. If the current FTF is 1005. If we do that Zocker FTF revert to previous, it will revert back to 1002. It is that way. The order in which we apply, it will revert back in the reverse order. So that is what is this revert thing. So yeah, before going ahead, if you have any questions for revert, we can address it here.
No questions over here.
Sure. So basically, I'm done with the commands here. So there are some more things that I need to explain before moving on. So baselining FTFs. So if we say about an FTF is a baseline FTF, we do have 998 FTF as a baseline FTF, right? So basically, what is a baseline FTF? So this is like a prerequisite FTF that is required for all the future FTFs. So for example, we do have our FTF 998 that is a baseline FTF, right? So if this FTF has been made baseline, whatever the future FTF that is coming after it, at 999 or 1002 or 1005, whatever it is, that needs to have, that server basically needs to have this 998 FTF applied as a prerequisite before that latest FTF 1005 is being applied. So that is what is a baseline FTF. So prerequisite FTF, this needs to be applied. So yeah, when this baselining will happen? So when will we basically baseline any FTF? When there is a need to apply any FTF as a mandatory thing. Yeah, this 998 FTF, we are making it as a baseline FTF, right? Basically, this FTF contains a fix to Log4j fix. So this security vulnerability fix has been done as part of this 998 FTF. So we do want all customers to apply this FTF before going on with any other FTF. So this FTF has been made as a baseline FTF. So this will be like a prerequisite mandatory FTF. So this is one reason. And the other thing is when there is a need to control the size of FTF. Since all the FTFs are basically cumulative, we will be basically the increasing the as and when the fixes are like added on top of each and every FTF, the sizes will basically increase, right? So when we have like a thing to control the size of FTF, or we do want to have like a hard stop, like this has reached this many MBs or GBs, we will be basically doing a baseline. And that FTF will be made as a baseline FTF, and the following FTFs will be having this latest FTF as a prerequisite. So basically that is about baselining FTF. And once any FTF is baseline, the subsequent FTFs, it will be cumulative from the baseline. For example, I told 998 is a baseline FTF, right? So if 998 is a baseline, then let us consider 999 or 1000. It will be cumulative from 998. So let me explain that with an example here. So if we are baselined at 999 FTF, this 999 FTF, it won't have the binary shift till 998 FTF. It will have the fixes only like how to say, like on 998 there will be like some set of fixes, right, from 990 to 998. So that will be one set, and 999 it will have only the fixes specific to that FTF. So if we want to make it cumulative, we need to apply 998 FTF as a prerequisite, and on top of that, this 999 FTF has to be applied. So that is what is a baseline FTF. So this 999 FTF will be cumulative from the 998 FTF. So it won't have the binary shift till 998, mutually exclusive basically. So, and if we see subsequent FTFs like 1000, 1001, so basically 1000 onwards, right, it will include all the binaries from 999 FTF till we go ahead with the next baseline. So this is what basically about baselining FTFs and how to apply FTFs if we have any baseline. So if you have any questions or something, we can address that.
So on 2020 update 1, if I'm going to update 2, I install update 2, and then I want a baseline 998. And since 1006 is out, I can go from 998 directly to 1006.
Yes, correct.
Perfect.
But yeah, before 1006, we need to apply this 998. That is what we are explaining here. That is a prerequisite.
And do agents baseline?
No, Paul.
Yeah,
okay.
No, correct.
And this baselining is introduced by us. It is not by the customer. It is done by Micro Focus.
Okay.
Yeah. Agents, we still follow the traditional approach.
And they do the rebuilds and so forth.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Correct. Yeah. So now that we are done with baselining FTFs, moving ahead. So basically, what next? So the Zocker tool, which we had like developed now, it is still in the earlier stages, and we are working on adding more features. So we'll just list down some of the upcoming features, basically as an enhancements, right? So first is making the apply or revert process smoother. For this, we can say that if suppose when applying FTFs, let's say that services aren't stopped, or if we have any kind of failures when applying FTFs, like there are some problems which we are trying to reduce. We are trying to iron out all those problems and make that apply and revert process more smoother. So these kind of hiccups should not happen, right? So that is one. And the second thing which we are trying to bring in is automatic stopping and starting of services. So till now in the README, we are asking customers to manually like stop or start the services like before and after we apply FTF, right? So basically we're trying to like follow some mechanisms to do all these things in an automated fashion so that there won't be any kind of manual activity from the customer side. So everything can be done at one shot itself. So that is one feature which we are trying to bring in. The next is cleanup of FTFs. So basically, like as and when we like start applying multiple FTFs, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, it will basically accumulate and it will start occupying disk space, right? Example, let us say like we already have applied like 13, 14 FTFs. We may not need obsolete FTFs like 3 or 4 or something. That will be like very old. We might not need it because all the FTFs are basically cumulative. So some mechanisms we are trying to introduce to delete all those obsolete FTFs that have been applied before, so that going forward there won't be any kind of disk space issues or something like that. So that is one. And the next is revert multiple versions. So currently, if we use Zocker FTF revert, we can do revert across FTFs like one by one. Like if we are in like if we are applied 1002, 3, 4, 5, and if you are like reverting one by one, if we can revert back 2004, 2003, 2002, like that. We can directly revert across multiple versions in a single shot. So that feature we are trying to bring in as part of the future Zocker. So yeah, these are things which we're trying to bring in enhancements. So now, yeah, let us see some of the frequently asked questions which we generally get when for the Zocker utility. So basically, first is how do I find the version of Zocker? So for that, we have one command called Zocker-version. This can be used to basically show what is the current version of Zocker. So basically, the current version which we are shipping till now is a 20.3.0.457. And this Zocker-version command, it will be available only from 1005 FTF onwards. So basically, this is developed when we released 1005. And suppose if we have any kind of failures or something when we use Zocker version command, that means that our Zocker version is old. We need to basically upgrade to the latest version. So if we apply 1005 or later version, the first step that will be there in the README is to upgrade the Zocker. So if we copy the Zocker binary from the zip file which we are given to the original location, then it will be like automatically upgraded and this command will start to work. And that is the thing about finding the version of Zocker. So the next frequently asked question is when I run that list command, basically Zocker FTF list -L, and it is not listing the FTFs applied before 998. So this is one other question. So for this answer is this FTF list command, it will be available only from 999 onwards because this FTF list command was developed after 998. So basically it was shipped as part of 999 FTF only. So basically from 999 FTF onwards, this FTF list command will show the list of FTFs that have been applied. So that is the thing. And the next frequently asked question is, can I have different primary servers on different FTF versions? For this question, ideally the best practice or the best recommendation is always maintain same FTF versions across all the primary servers unless otherwise specified by microfocus. So suppose if it is like a dev FTF that have been applied on a non-production environment or something like that, for that maybe microfocus will recommend to apply only on the specific server just to test and confirm the fix is working fine, or just to like take additional logs or something like that. Unless otherwise this is like explicitly specified, always maintain same FTF versions across all primary servers if it is an official FTF. So that is what is a answer for this question. And next one, let us say like we can say like can I skip basically applying the baseline version as we don't need those fixes. Let us consider an example like we have a customer, they have reporting one defect for which they are requesting an FTF, and that defect fix is part of 1006 FTF. Let us consider that example. And when we ship the 1006 FTF, customer says like, I can directly go ahead and apply 1006 as that is cumulative, right? Why I need to apply the baseline or any other previous versions? I can directly skip and apply the one which I need. Basically, no, that is not the case. As I told previous slides about the baselining FTF thing, baseline FTF is basically a mandatory FTF that needs to be applied as a prerequisite before we go ahead and apply the latest FTF. So always baseline FTF has to be applied before applying the FTF which we are wanting to apply, like 1006. That is the latest one that has required fix. So that is the thing. Also, we have like validation procedures. Like before we apply the baseline, we can't able to apply the latest FTF. So that validation mechanisms also has been like there, like developed in Microfocus. So basically, we can't apply latest FTF before the prerequisite baseline FTF is done. So yeah, that is the answer. And yeah, let us now consider an example like so in a zone, customer says like I had applied this FTF in this following order. Like 995 has been applied, then following by 998, then 1002, and then 1005. So in across the first primary server that has been applied. Consider this a multi-zone server, or like now we are introducing another primary server or something like that. Customer is introducing, and customer is asking, do I need to apply all the FTFs on the new server in the same order that has been done on the first primary server? For this, suppose the customer requires only 1005. He don't need to actually apply the same order. Basically, they can directly go ahead and apply only this 1005 FTF. And since this 1005 requires 998 as a prerequisite baseline FTF, right? So 998 can be applied, then followed by 1005. They don't need to go in this order. So that is the basic thing. Latest can be applied since that is cumulative. As a prerequisite, the baseline can be applied, then followed by the latest. So that is the answer for this one. Apart from this, if there are any other frequently asked questions or any other doubts, we can address it here. So Paul.
I don't see any questions yet, but that's a great explanation of those different common questions that support will get. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, like now we are done with frequently asked questions. Yeah, next we will go ahead with troubleshooting. Basically, if there are any kind of like issues or like any kind of errors while applying FTF, so basically these files are required to be provided to Microfocus, right, for debugging purposes. So for that, there are some log files which we can like take note of. So in Linux and Windows, so basically this is the path under Zen server home. Under Zocker logs, we do have a Zocker.log file that will capture all the basically all the statements that will like display in the console while applying that FTF. All this will be like captured and saved in Zocker.log file. So that can be like given to Microfocus for debugging. And the second thing is tracker files basically. So I told as part of the newer approach, we do have tracker files, right? So basically these are the tracker files, FTF tracker and patches tracker, JSON files. So this will have information about which FTF has like which container image has been like changed as part of which FTF, and all those information will be like stored as part of these tracker files. So this also can be like provided to Microfocus for the debugging purpose. So yeah, this is basically about the troubleshooting thing. So, any questions here?
No questions. I just figure that the Linux also implies appliance as well because it's Linux based, right?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it we had about the content on Zocker. So if you have any questions, we can address it, or yeah, or else yeah, we can close the session.
No more questions.
Okay. So yeah, basically yeah, we're done with the session.
Oh,
so
good.
Thank you for time and patience.
Thank you for your time. This has been really great. You guys have done a lot of hard work to simplify to the latest using Zocker. This will make zone maintenance for customers, easier, faster. You could schedule them quarterly and get them done real quick. I think this is a great asset to updating, as well as by containerizing them, being able to move to the cloud in the future. And I always learn so much on these particular conversations. Thank you so much, both CK, Mani, and Guru, for joining us today. This knowledge transfer session has been great about patching the servers with Zocker, and I appreciate your time that you put forth in being here today and sharing that information. That's fantastic.
Thank you, Paul. It was a good opportunity to explain about Zocker.
It is. It's very good. Great presentation, and I appreciate your time. And we hope to have you back on ZENcast soon. Thank you.
Sure.
Sure. Paul. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so we are down to the final bits. We sure are appreciative that those gentlemen came aboard and showed us that. I did a little bit about FTF updates, cumulative updates on my ZENcast, but nowhere near to that detail, so I'm so glad that they covered all the bases I missed on that. There's some Zocker documentation here that you can get to, as well as visiting the ZCM community. Or if you have any questions, we can send them to zen@microfocus.com and we'll definitely address them. Again, the next ZENcast, I'll be on vacation September 6th, but September 20th, we'll be back in the seat and talking about ZSD 831 and what's new. So I appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you so much. Feel free to download those presentations in the description if you're watching the recording. And we'll see you next time in about a month. Thank you so much. Cheers.